Can a fake second display be enabled in Windows 10? I just updated to Windows 10 and discovered that Microsoft broke this method of adding a fake second monitor. Is there a way to fake a dual second monitor which I rely on for scaling some small programs to full screen with OBS? The Detect button in Control Panel seems to do nothing, and the Detect button in Settings simply says a display was not connected. Is there any way to force Windows 10 to think there's a display connected on VGA without extra hardware or paid software? I'm using a laptop with an NVIDIA 970M with HDMI, VGA, and DisplayPort out. What I've tried. The My Display is not shown option in the NVIDIA control panel, which won't let me add anything and only has options for televisions. Space Desk, which almost works except that my real display is bumped to number 2 and requires a client to be connected. DemoForge Mirage Zone Screen, which also require a connected client and are somewhat unstable on recent versions of Windows. Virtual Monitor, which I think is almost what I want, but isn't compatible with Windows 7 and has some compatibility issues. Note that I am not looking for virtual desktop software, and I don't need anything as fancy as Matrox PowerDisk or Virtual Display Manager.
This is by far not the ideal solution, but for now it will do. I put a 102 ohm resistor across pins 2 and 7 of my VGA port, also known as the headless Mac Mini trick, and Windows 10 now believes I have a second monitor attached. On a different computer I had to use pins 1 and 6 and reboot before the monitor would work.
Just spent last 2 hours trying to figure this out. First go to Control Panel, not Settings app. Go to Adjust Screen Resolution. You will get a similar window as you did in Windows 7. Click Detect. Go to Display drop-down and select Display Device on VGA. Select desired resolution. If Windows is unable to save your settings, use the software from your video card to adjust the resolution. If you aren't able to output the display to the fake screen only, press Windows plus P and the select Second Display Only. I hope this helps.
I found this forum post which provides a link to a pre-built driver which adds up to 4 virtual displays. As far as I understand, it's a free part of a paid software named AmiUni USB Mobile Monitor, as in free beer, but there may be other license restrictions. So, download and unpack this URL somewhere, preferably without spaces or non-Latin characters. It's SHA-256 was 629B51994476394817717C65009A79592EBC003FBA5B24F51. For me, and VirusTotal sees nothing immediately wrong. Start command line in the directory you've just unpacked. Run device installer 64 install usmid. INF usmid. On 32-bit systems use device installer instead, as an administrator to install the driver. Run device installer 64 enableid1 to enable an additional display. It's 1920 by 1080 by default, but other resolutions can be configured in the driver. They even provide additional instructions in a IDD_instructions TXT file inside, as well as uninstall commands. There is also a Windows 10 only warning, so it may not work on Windows 11.
I had the same problem and came up with a fairly simple solution. Just connect your primary screen twice. Most displays have two inputs and you just need another display cable to connect it. A fake software driver would have been more elegant and less power consuming, but this works fine too. Smiley face.
The so-called elegant software solution. Apparently, custom resolutions can be set up in the registry somehow. Instead of messing with it, I used Crew, Custom Resolution Utility, a free software package did the trick. After messing around with the standalone program for a few minutes, it did what I wanted. Then I messed it up, played with it some more without reading the instructions, and it worked even better. I needed a dual monitor solution for Splashtop without an extra monitor. I also needed to boost the resolution from 900p to 1080p. I temporarily plugged into the second monitor port, then used Crew. Then I realized how bad Splashtop's dual monitor support is, and wanted to go back to one. So unplug the second monitor connection, right? Nope. The second virtual monitor persisted anyway. So I deleted it in Crew, which Windows respected. Crew had it wrapped around its finger. The remote host chugs along at a decent little 900p, which looks tiny and/or fuzzy on my bigger screen. Thanks to Crew, I'm logged in at 1080p on my local end. Which means no sitting next to the noisy graphics card and air cooling. Still no dual monitor capability for my GPU-accelerated remote desktop, so I'll probably need a second piece of software, remote desktop/logmain, just to transmit the second virtual monitor Crew gives me. Haven't figured out that part yet. Privacy concerns aside, Windows 10 Enterprise with its remote desktop FX seems to have that figured out. Performance looks pretty darn good, too. You could call that elegant if you want.
If you want to support the channel, please consider subscribing.